Hello again, everyone. This is Bob Martin, the RCSubGuy with the Nautilus Dry Docks, and this is my weekly update video in which I'm going to show you all of the amazing things that we're going to accomplish here at the Dry Docks over the course of the next 5 days. Let's get this week started. Before we get too deep into this week's video, I got super exciting news for any of you people who basically live anywhere between the West Coast and the East Coast, and you want to attend SUBFEST, but you don't want to drive. You can't afford to take that time. Mr. Ron in San Diego, California, has volunteered his services to be a submarine mule and transport your boat from the West Coast or anywhere in between to Cohutta and back again. Now, we're going to have all of the details available on my website shortly, but if you are interested in dropping off your submarine with him along his route, that would allow you to just hop on a commercial flight, join us at SUBFEST, fly back without having to do the long drive or worry about shipping your extremely expensive and highly delicate model submarine. So again, check out the events page on my website. I'm going to try and get some information up there shortly. Super exciting news. There's no excuse for you not to come to SUBFEST now. So, unlike my normal routine, this is actually Sunday morning, and it's 6:30 in the morning. I spent the first part of the morning, about 4:30 when I got up. Grabbed myself a coffee. This is cup number 2. Drafting 3D files and printing them out for my Stingray project. The Gerry Anderson Stingray that I alluded to last week. Primarily what I'm focusing on here right now, just because I'm really excited about this, is this custom jet that I created, and we're going to assemble this morning. Starting with this power, this is 650 kilovolt brushless motor that's going to live bolted right to the back of the unit. And we're going to go ahead and assemble this, and the idea is that this is going to be able to swivel into axes to give pitch and yaw. So give me a couple minutes. Let me see if I can wriggle this up, and I'll show you what I had in mind when I put this all together. So some progressives. This is the motor coupling. Drilled out this brass prop for 1/8, drilled it for a set screw, and I Loctited it. This would better not come off. Oil impregnated bushing, and you can see frictionless, people, frictionless. Now I'm just checking my spacing here for this motor mount, and it looks like I need to reduce it by about 1/8 of an inch to make this perfection. But that is basically what it looks like, and what I love most about this, it's all color coordinated. It's the little things, people. It's the little things. So here's my mock-up-ish right now. We got our Rate Master vectored nozzle, and I think I might need to extend, or I want to extend this by about 1 inch. I'm just going to print out a little extension here just so that the vectoredness is very vectored, because you can never have too much vector with your vector unit. But this is what it all looks like, and from a spacing perspective, I do want to go with this larger compartment because I'm going to need a servo for pitch, a servo for yaw, and a picture for depth, these forward planes here. I think these are actually going to work good to pull the boat down. It won't affect pitch, but it will affect the depth. So 3 servos. We may also need to put the motor for the Rate Master spin in here, depending on, because these are brushed, and I don't want them in the wet. So that might need to live inside, along with the pump and 3 servos and the receiver and the pitch controller. So yeah, But that means we got limited room for a ballast tank. Which maybe we go with a custom solution. Maybe I print up a short, fat ballast tank. That's not a bad idea. Because I was going to go with this thing. It won't fit this way. It will if we go that way, but then it pushes everything out and it impacts the hull. Should just double check and make sure this all fits. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Yeah. Yeah, of course it does. We got maybe 1/8 of an inch of clearance in there. All right, custom ballast tank it is. I think that's going to be the most ideal of circumstances. And then since we got this out, I just want to show you how this vectoring works. So this is going to go upside down, or right side up. Those are the two control rods. And you need these bushings in here in order to maintain alignment of your vectored thrust thingy. But basically you can see how that works when the rods are moved. And it's got about, I designed it to have 20 degrees of deflection, which should be lots. I think that's going to be lots. So I'm going to do some sketches, see what we can come up with in regard to a ballast tank shape that'll fit in here, and get some more printing going. And that'll probably do it for work today. It's the weekend, people. Come on now. It's cold. It is cold here in Texas. It is Monday morning, and it's nice and sunny out, but we have severe snowstorm warnings. And for all of you guys up north who are like, oh, you poor baby, we don't get that stuff down here. And there's a reason I lived in Florida and Texas, by the way. Thank you very much. But we got progress already this morning. Let's take a look. So added in a nozzle extension to the back of our jet, so we're going to have more definitive thrust direction coming out of the nozzle there. Printed out the ballast tank. Look at this. Slick, man. Made a battery mount. I haven't mounted this yet, but that's where the battery goes. And we are working on, I glued the main control box, waterproof box, to the other side of the ballast tank. That's the pump. That's going to make that all go. And the other thing that I'm doing here, I wanted to see how this little gear pump was going to do in terms of the velocity that it was going to spin the rate master, and I'm pretty stoked. That looks like a nice speed. From what I could see from the series, this is about the right speed that it spun. I think that's just about perfect. So I can go ahead and use this motor, which I'm excited about because it's going to fit nicely in here. And I gotta get a radio. But I'm gonna plug up the ballast first, so that I can glue the ballast tank together. Let's show you what this whole mock-up looks like. So this is what the central area is gonna look like. Monster huge ballast tank. I'm excited. This is gonna fit really good. It does fit with the hull on. It's sloped, so all the air is gonna gather in the center. I'm gonna put the vent right here, and that'll go up the top of the sail through the little periscope thing. And I kept this separate, so now I get full access to the interior. I can rig up the intake and all of that stuff, and then glue this together and put all that in. But before I do all of that, it's onto the hull to get that all finished up and looking nice and smooth. Get some hull hold downs done, and that is what we're going to work on. We've been working all day, and we've got lots done. Logan has been working on Nautilus. Lots of Nautilus detail stuff for the RC, but the important things is the hull. And I want you to note, if you guys are going to be putting any of these kits together, we did the lower hull and then started assembling the upper pieces, ensuring a perfect match. And we ended up clamping it in a bunch of different places. and then using a heat gun to get everything relaxed and perfectly aligned. With a display model, you can get away with like muscling it into position and gluing it, but with the RC models, they need to be absolutely perfect every single time. So you can't do that. You have to make it perfect, which is what they're doing. So we're just letting it cool down while he works on display stuff. And this is everything we got going on with the Stingray. The watertight compartment has been organized. 900 megahertz receiver. The geared motor going through a seal that's going to run to the back to the rate master. Electronic pitch or speed controller for the main drive battery. And the other one for the ballast pump. So what I'm going to be doing now, and I believe what I'll do is I'm going to run waterproof servos. One for pitch and one for yaw. And then another one for the depth planes. So basically this is done. Except for the outputs, the wire outputs for the servos. And for that, I'll need a 6-wire connector, waterproof connector, or something. I have to get 5 wires in, basically, and we'll get all that figured out. We are out at the top secret test facility in the freezing cold weather. It's literally at the freezing point here right now, but I'm so anxious to give this a try. We're going to brave it for a couple minutes and see what happens. So we're going to test the ballast system and we're going to test the throttle. So let's test the ballast system first. And I don't know which way does what, but go ahead and fire it up. There we go. Perfect. That's a lot of flow. That's awesome. Okay, so let's try nice and slow. All right, step it up.
That's full throttle right there.
All right, let's.
That was me.
Okay.
Can we go again?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to tell.
That boat does go quite a bit though, right?
No, it's funny how it's making like a fan like that.
Well, it's pushing that water into a cone, into the circle, so it's spinning it as it's going out.
Yeah. Works. It moves water. Yeah, it's a big ballast tank, which is good. All right, well, I guess we know it moves water. We won't know how well it moves water until we
Test it.
put it in the boat.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. It's not doing anything. Oh, shit. Okay, do it again.
Really about the same. A little bit more force.
Tuesday morning. We didn't make a lot of footage yesterday. Everybody had their heads down and they were just like working like crazy. And I didn't want to stop because I was engineering my brain trying to get that all set up. But we're going to reset here. But before we do, let's take a look outside. This is not cool, people. Well, it is cool. It's cold and nasty and stupid. Rain and snow in Texas, and it's supposed to be like this all day with up to 4 to 6 inches of snow. Super awesome, which means all my shipments in and out are going to be completely and utterly stalled because nobody around here knows what to do when the snow falls. And this is legit. 90% of the vehicles out there have like summer tires, and the littlest bit of snow is going to be really, really, really bad. So we're just going to put our heads down. It's 60 degrees in the shop. It's a little chilly. Logan's going to go in the house and work on Nautilus on a little table over there. And I'm going to plug away at this. this is where we're starting, and I think I showed it to you, but I didn't go into a lot of detail. What I wanted to point out is right here in this intake, all of these little openings in here, and these all tally up to about double the surface area of the hose, but it's really, really low. It's less than 1/8 of an inch tall, which means if this hose would have been laid down sideways, it would have left about 3/16 of an inch of water in the bottom, and this will be 1/8. So just sucking all the water out that we can from that ballast tank. And this is all double adhered with both CA and construction adhesive. So now that I'm confident that this is not going to go anywhere, I'm going to drill in my vent and then glue the other half on. So with the command and control done, no, not done, paused, because I don't want to go about mounting it in here until we do all of the hull mods. So we're going to work on the hull mods now. Couple of things I've done. I've traced out a universal thickness for this flange. This was chopped up apparently with an axe before, just random thicknesses and all sorts of nastiness there. So we'll try and trim that up and make it look a little better. What I'm going to start with, though, is drilling out the torpedo tubes. And for that, I'm going to use a hole saw, because this just slots in there really nice. And we're just going to bomb it right in there and see how it turns out. Now, I might need to peel this sandpaper off the outside. I was multi-purposing this tool previously. But we're going to do some cuttage and see how that turns out. And then I think we'll move on to hull hold downs. And then from that, we can smooth the whole hull with it as one piece, and then move on to installation of the Rate Master. Holes have been drilled. That actually worked really good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to print a, well, you know, I don't know, maybe I'll just leave that open, because we need water inputs for the main propulsion motor, and these are going to be two of the primary ones. I'm going to put some secondary ones in the lower hull. This actually looks pretty good. I was going to put some little inserts in here to make you know, circular torpedo tubes, but I think I might just leave it. I don't know. What do you think? I think that looks pretty cool. Here's the challenge. Thinking about hull access and stuff. So the front's all lined up. If I line up the front, the back is out by 1/8 of an inch. If I line up the back, so this is nice and flush. This gets much better on the sides right here. But then we end up with a lip on the front, which, I mean, I guess I could grind down with some super coarse sandpaper. I think it'd be easier to line up this big flat face than it would be to try and grind that down to match it. So this is what we're going to end up doing. The other thing I'm going to need to do once we get this all locked together is secure this really well and drill in circular outputs here. This is, I don't know what this is. This is just a nasty mess, not remotely close to what it should be looking like for the actual boat. But like I said, what we're going to be working on here now is a secure manner of getting the upper hull attached to the lower hull so we can maintain alignment when we do all of our sanding and contouring work. So I'm doing some percolations about the hull hold down. Need your help. By the time you see this video, it won't matter because I'll have it done anyway, but I'd appreciate your comments below on what I should have done. So considerations in terms of the hull hold down. You need to think about the various appendages and hull splits and how they're all going to relate. In this particular case, the most important one is the Rate Master. Now, I designed this bearing here to get secured to the hull. Ideally, it would be 360 degrees, so it would be an exceptionally solid mount. In order to do that, though, and still retain access, I would need to split this hull. I don't, for cosmetics, I'm not super excited about that. If I don't, it means basically I'll just be doing a little arch in here, and only about the bottom third of this will be secured. But that means this whole upper hull would all be one piece and could either drop straight down or could slide back for a hull closure. And again, you need to think about this. Are we gonna drop the hull down and have alignment pins? Or are we going to create like L-shaped catches that you would drop down and slide back? I kind of like the idea of the drop and slide methodology, because that takes care of alignment as well as securing the hull. Whereas the alignment pins would take care of alignment, but this would just come right off if you put any flotation foam or anything in there. Now you get away with magnets, but you know, sometimes they're not the most powerful, and the last thing you want to do is have your upper hull come off, float to the surface, and have your lower hull proceed to the bottom of the lake. So that means we're into L-shaped catches that are going to come out. And you'd have a slot in the upper hull and pins in the lower hull, or vice versa. And you can do that with rod or plate. The catch is, if you want this to go into the fiberglass, there's not a lot of meat here, lots of meat here, and the thickness is just all over the map. So we would almost need to cut these out, create our own plates of universal thickness. That might be, because we got lots of room back here. So I'm thinking we could get away with 3. 1, 2, and 3 up here. Okay, I have cleaned up the seams, given them a little sand. Getting them looking pretty good here. So they're nice and even now, all the way around the outside. And then I've used this 1/4-inch PVC sheet stock that I had, and this is rock solid, perfectly flush with the flange in those 3 locations. And now what I've done, I marked the center line of the boat, use this, and now what I'm going to do, in order to draw a perfectly parallel cutout, I'm going to use my compass here, draw it out on both sides, and I'll probably just use more of this to create a hook. That'll go in there. I think it'll work good. Give me a minute. Let me see if it'll work. So I milled out my slots in here, and then I cut out some hooks. Originally, I was going to 3D print these, but I've got like a 18-hour print on my printer for Frank right now. It's really, that printer's tied up. I bought another printer, so I'm going to actually have 2 of the Bamboo X1Cs, which is going to double my productivity here, which would be super cool. But I went old school with this, just for you, Dave. Cut these out. So the idea is that it'll just drop down and hook forward. And that'll secure the boat in place. The trick is getting these installed here in such a manner that they perfectly align with the other side of the deck. Let's see what we can make happen. So I think I got it. Slidey, lifty, hooky. It seems to work. And the way I did this to ensure perfect alignment was to basically install the hook and then go at it from the inside. Like that. So I could tack it when it's perfectly in place and perfectly aligned. Now, we'll see if it works for the other side. It's not perfect. This side's perfect. This side needs a little sandy to get it perfect. And then it actually is back about 1/16 of an inch. But you can put a little spacer in there. This is tricky stuff, guys. Let me see what I can do about the other side and the front, and I'll get back to you. It's done. It works. Shut up. There we go. I know what I'm doing. There we go. I think I'm going to mill that out just a little bit more so it slides forward. It just barely catches on the lip of that. I might just cut that down a little bit. But alignment is perfect. Hold on. And it's locked in place. Everything is working super good. So now what I can do, now that this is kind of locked in its alignment position, I can bust out the sander and really go to town on these edges, get everything lined up, and I can cut the hole for the Rate Master. This is my least favorite part of building submarines: grinding and sanding. Here is where we are at. I've opened up the Rate Master opening. This was a lot of grinding, people. You can see there. This fits perfectly now. That bushing will work awesome. I've also opened up these like side thruster opening things. I'm going to print out a perfect cylinder that'll insert there that I can trim, and I'll have some little fake thruster thingies sticking out there. You can see the same thing on the other side. And the way I did this, by the way, I just took a hole saw and I wrapped sandpaper around the perimeter. You saw that earlier, and you just eat in from the side, push your way forward, and you're done. So now that this is all done, we got our hold downs done. Got dust all over my phone. I need to bust out the sander. No two ways around it. Sand this up, and primarily what I'm interested in is the seam on the sides. So what I may do, although it's freezing outside, is set a table up out there, grin and bear it, sand for 10-15 minutes with coarse paper, and then just hand sand it once we get back in the shop. So I got Stingray ready for some primer. I brought it outside, gave it a sand. The weather's not that bad out there. I got my old Canadian blood in me. It wasn't bad at all. It's like freezing. It's 32 or 33 degrees Fahrenheit, but it was fine. It got an alternative use for your lathe, for those of you that have one. Ed put me onto this. Just letting it shake up a little bit. Zero effort involved. You can also do it for your little paints as well. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see if it works. I'm still going to give it the traditional shake, but I don't know. I thought that was kind of cool. And I'm cleaning up my workstation because it was a disaster. So that once we get this done, we can put that over there and then start with the installation of the components in there. But of course, before that, we need to see how the primer turns out, see where we need to add any filler, do some extra sanding and all that stuff. And hey, by the way, in case you are wondering, we survived the giant blizzard of the Woodlands, Texas 2025. We got like 2 inches of snow, and it was all melted by the end of the day. By the time we got to the end of the day, we had just enough snow to make a snowman. It was a big non-event. There was a lot more snow in a lot of other places, but we did it good. However, we have refrained from shipping anything out this week because of all the weather delays everywhere else in the country. So if you're waiting on shipments from us, we're intentionally holding off because it is going to be a mess with massively delayed shipments and everything. We're going to hold off, ship them out next week. Sorry about the delay, but hey, not much we can do about it. Morning, Wednesday. 60 degrees in the shop again, but it's like, I don't know, probably -5 Celsius outside. Cold. But we're managing. Let's take a look at where we're at with Stingray. So we got it primed, and I've marked out areas that I think need to get some filler, so make sure that I don't forget them. I've installed, so what I did, I printed out these tubes here, and then inserted them into my openings, and then trimmed them and glued them. So now we've got our little recesses for our, I don't know, I guess they're jets. And then these go in like that kind of thing. Like a jet. I suppose that's a jet. I don't know. There's like a rate master and jets. I don't know why they got so many things going on. But this is all ready for some filling. So I'm going to go ahead and mix up some filler. Put that stuff on there. Let it kick off. And, oh, look, I forgot a spot. And then we'll get this thing all filled up and do some final sanding, and then we'll start putting some fins on this thing everywhere that they go. And Logan's working on reinforcing our RC model, and we're trying to make this as user-friendly as possible. Now, you could fight with this boat to get the hull on, but the alignment tabs are actually not that huge. They're pretty tiny, like, what is that, like a 1/16 of an inch deep channels. So what we got going on, if Logan will show us, we printed some bulkheads, and those are going to get jammed in, and these are based off of the files, not the model. So the model's all warped and not good. Well, I mean, it is good, but you know, it's not the way it was designed, just due to the nature of manufacturing. These will help move the side keels and hull and everything out to the correct alignment. So Logan's working on that, and then you'll see at the top of these, we got alignment pin holes. So we can make sure that the upper hull just drops right down without a problem. At least that's what'll happen in theory. So I've sanded all the nasty cracks and crazing that went on there. So in theory, it's smooth. What I'm hoping is this clear is going to soak in and do away with all of the, you know, sanding marks and all of that stuff. If not, we either use it and live with it, or it requires redrafting the entire thing. Now, for the most part, this is okay, but I don't know how this was built, but there's, you know, like little holes and then big slots, and it's, you know, obviously handcrafted. And for those of you who are proponents and say that's the only way of building things, this is what you end up with. There is something to be said for digitally mastering something, people. Let's see what happens when we shoot it with some clear. Oh yeah, maybe. Nice. Now you can still see some crazing, but it did do away with all of the sanding marks and everything. I think it's going to be okay. Let's see. We'll let her dry. Interesting. Okay. Okay, guys. This is just more of the same stuff going on here. This is all looking good. This is kicking off. Might be able to sand this here another hour or so. Get this all looking good. These cast resin parts, on the other hand, are a joke. A complete and utter joke. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to match up the lefts and the right. I just glued these tips on because I thought, you know, we would do that. I'm gonna match these up, lefts and rights. So I want you to look at the back here. We've got one fin that's about half the thickness of the other fin. It sticks up 3/16 of an inch higher. Looking at it from the top, if I match them up, it's probably 3/8 of an inch longer here. I'm gonna need to completely rebuild this. These things that go on the top of the sail, they're not bad. I may be able to use these, but they're warped like crazy, both of them. I don't know what he may have impregnated this resin with glass bead. I'm wondering if that's what it is. It's an interesting texture. I think he may have done it either for strength or to save on resin. I'm going to heat these up and see if I can get them to lay down properly. I thought these were going to be the low-hanging fruit, honestly, but we're going to move on to this and glue them to the top of the sail. Again, this is all stuff that's not budgeted for. You know, when you quote a build, it's like you got a kit to put the kit together, not get the kit, rebuild the kit, and then put the kit together. And a very good morning. It's Thursday, even though it feels like Friday. This feels like a long week for some reason.
Yeah, it does.
So, I am setting Stingray aside because I have new parts for it on the printer. So this is a brand new sail with integrated fins and new tail. So those parts are going to greatly improve the model. Those old parts were just a disaster. You guys saw. It was terrible. So we're just going to wait. Those will be done in about 9 hours, so later on tonight, provided the print goes well. But in the meantime, got some other stuff to work on. Vanguard. Yeah, super cool boat. Like I said, this we put this together. This is one of the first boats you were.
Yeah, I've been waiting to see this one.
You were with
this one, yeah.
You were with me for back at the old first shop that we had in Florida. And this is the issue. This holds on really well. Those are super powerful magnets. We need to fix this. It got smuckered. Yeah, that's all.
On the forklift damage, right?
That's all the forklift could do to it.
I'll take that every day. Absolutely.
So we are going to do a little reconstructive surgery on this thing. See if we can get it built back up again. And I'll show you how we're going to do it. How are you making out with Nautilus?
I mean, at this point, the bottom of the hull is just about as good as it can get. It's got its ribs in.
What the heck is that? All right, yeah, that squealing was our neighbor's brakes. Apparently, Cadillac has squeaky brakes.
Well, to be fair, it can be very cold. No one's gone
Yeah,
for a few days.
yeah. If you don't use them, they get a little rust on them. So the lower bulkheads are in. We got to do upper bulkheads. But before we can put the upper bulkheads in, you need to...
I need to trim out the, I guess, bottom of these inlays for where the grills are, because they get in the way of the bulkheads. So I need to trim those out, and it'll also help with flooding.
Or venting, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when we put the grates on, it'll all be open underneath. And then, I don't know, I guess we could talk to the owner. Some people like putting green lights behind the gills. And that's a little weird, people. Behind the scuppers and behind the grates. And, like, I know it looks cool, but, I mean, the Nautilus has no lights underneath the deck. There would be no purpose behind it. Maybe it was psychological intimidation. I guess. You could explain it away. This is a fantasy boat. Do whatever you want, people. It's all cool. But at any rate, you're going to do trimmy trim for the deck grate recesses. And that'll make installation of our bulkheads easy. And venting will be super awesome too. Look what I found when I took this apart. One of the big missing pieces. This is going to make life super easy. Hiding in there, we'll just glue that back together again, and we just need to fill a couple little tiny spots instead of one gigantic one. Logan's using my favorite tool ever, the ultrasonic knife, just to finish cutting out the hard to reach places. There you go. And I am using my old standby baking soda and CA to repair. So I used tape to get the contour of the outside there. Put in the powder, hit it with a little thin, and now we'll see how it looks. So I got the sail drying. I got a little primer on there. I think I need to open up a little hole right there. I don't know. I don't remember what that looked like, but at any rate, it's a lot better than it was. It's in one piece now. A little glazing putty, I think. Get that back into shape again. Taking the cylinder apart. I've got no fob for the remote switch, so now I've got to completely replace that. And I'm seeing a lot of corrosion. This thing's been flooded. Now, that's not necessarily terrible. Everything could be completely functional, but we're going to do a full check here, obviously. It was running an old 2.4 gigahertz radio. Don't have the radio, so, and we're not going to use this. It's all falling apart and not in good shape, so we're going to be going with the 900 twin. Let's get it fired up and see what happens. I can also see that the seal right here has been compromised, so that'll have to be addressed, or we just simply go with a waterproof battery. You know, one of my life batteries or something like that. Let's see what we can do to pair up the new radio, check the functions, and see what, if anything, is working. Logan's making good progress on the Nautilus in the bulkheads there. Okay, I got a new switch installed, brand new fob, radio's installed, receiver's been bound, we got power hooked up. I've not yet pushed it. I have no idea what's going to happen. Let's stand back here. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Let's see. Oh, okay. We got rudder. Up front should be. Oh, that's stern planes. So I've got these backwards. But anyhow, it's working. What's this one? Okay. There's this. Uh-oh. Yeah, that servo's been flooded. Not happy. Only in one direction, though. That's funny. Okay, ballast. And throttlage. All right, what am I forgetting? Pitch controller? Did pitch controller work? Oh, everything works except this one silly servo. Okay, good. This is good. We'll replace the servo, put everything together, mount it, run it, and then work on our battery compartment or new battery. This was a productive morning. Vanguard. Everything's working. Everything is working. Just need to grab a new 3300 battery for the battery compartment, test the watertight integrity of the battery, and we'll be good to go. One thing I did do is I added a test hose in the back here. I pressured it up. I just blew in it to see if it was holding pressure. Didn't hear anything. Obviously, we'll put it in the water and we'll check all of that stuff. But really, the only thing left to do is final sand on this, glue it onto the top of the sail. That's ready to go. It's ready to go, people. If anybody wants a Vanguard, that's where it's going to be. Should be ready to go next week, early next week, after we test it. The weather's supposed to be nice next week. Logan got all of the bulkheads installed in the Nautilus, and that should all be cured up and ready to go by tomorrow, so we can continue working on all the rest of the stuff that we need to do on that. And one last thing, I got a batch of cute little radios. They hooked me up as a dealer, radio master. So these will actually, I sourced these specifically for our RC Sharks. So it doesn't need all of the functionality of our, big boats. It just needs to go forward, left, and right. That's all it needs to do. And this is way more cost effective. That's going to do it for today. Have a good sleep. We'll see you in the morning. Happy Friday, everybody. Like I said, it's been a long week. I'm glad it is coming to an end. But we got lots on the to-do list for today. And it's going to be some fun stuff. Let's see what we got going on. What the heck are you working on?
I am building our first full-body squid with attack tentacles.
Yeah, and those are the production version with professional resin printing. So the idea is we'll place it, heat up the tentacles, wrap it around the boat, and this is for that 48 build that we did that's still sitting here waiting to get shipped out. So that's super exciting, and we shipped out our first kit version of this too, which has the full body, so you can have it chasing the boat. That looks pretty badass. I love that. That looks so cool. And Vanguard's pretty well done. Look at this. This is all sanded and glued. We're getting ready to hit this with some paint. And then basically I'm just waiting for a battery, and then we'll be into trimming next week, which Jason says is supposed to be nice but rainy. Warm but rainy.
I'll take it over what we had last week, so.
Yeah, exactly. Take anything over that. And lastly, check this action out. This is the new 3D printed sail for Stingray. All ABS, glass fiber, reinforced construction. It's about 2/3 the weight of the resin version. But, I mean, just so much cleaner. So much better than that debacle that was on it before. And I also printed the tail section, which I'm going to have to fair in and everything. But again, everything is perfectly aligned, perfectly uniform, perfectly symmetrical, and perfectly strong. When you're 3D printing, guys, by the way, if you print like this, like I did, the striations go horizontally. And so when you're orienting this stuff on your build tray, you need to take into consideration which direction the stresses are going to come. If you were to print it this way, which I don't know why you ever would, all the striations would be this way to be very weak. You'd snap this easily with your fingers. But with them horizontal, all the stresses are going to be to try and break the wing, and they're all in line with those stresses, or perpendicular to those stresses, I should say. So exceptionally strong. This is not going to break unless you really try. Well, here we go. A thing of beauty, fully repaired, ready to go. I haven't put the periscopes in. But now we're just waiting on battery. So we're going to put this, maybe just move it in the middle of the table. And we're going to get back to the Stingray. Well, check that out. Starting to look like a Stingray. Got the sail mounted, tacked with some CA. I'm gonna do some filling in around here, and I should probably do that since I got the filler out and here. But I've got the rear fin mounted. I had to do a little cutout here to accommodate the Rate Master, which means the resin parts were inaccurate because I based this off of them. So there you go. Just waiting for this to kick off, and the upper hull is not part of that, so I just put a seam right here with the tape. When that cures, we just remove the upper hull, peel the tape off, and we got a perfect razor thin seam. So I guess what I'll do now, I'm going to go ahead and blend in our sail into the boat, do some little filling around here and here, and then I don't know, we'll figure something else out to do after that. Let's do a recap of where we're at here. You'll notice the shop is clean, by the way. We took about 20 minutes, cleaned the shop out for the first time in a really long time. Stingray. This is sitting a little higher than you saw it last time, and the reason is I made some fancy skis. Yes, Stingray had skis or landing gears, or I don't know. They came out of the bottom of the boat like that. And my thinking behind this is you can use them as a display stand. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make sleeves on the inside with pins. And so these will be completely removable. You can run the boat as it is with the skis, or you can take them off and make it more streamlined and fast and agile in the water. But I think it looks super cool. I like it a lot. By the end of the day, probably Monday, we'll have all of this filler sanded. That's what I meant to say. Get a coat of primer on there and it'll look super cool. And then we're going to start installing all of our guts and gizmos to make this work. And I just want to point you in the direction, if you're after a little shop light, so that you can see inside the guts of your boat. I follow a guy, or a channel called Legit Streetcars on YouTube. And the guy takes cars in, and he fixes them up, and it's all about this. He's fun to watch. I highly recommend it. But at any rate, he has a lot of products. Legit Streetcars pen light. And this thing is freaking cool. I get nothing for this, by the way. I just think this is awesome. I just got it this morning. It's like incredibly bright. And it's also got a floodlight. Where are we here? There we go. So it floods the whole area, a nice even light, and it's magnetic on the back. So it's easy to store. I just go ahead and just lives right there. Always available, always handy, but you can, like I said, you can get right in to your boat, see what's going on inside. We always need to get into the linkages and see what's going on. So at any rate, that's my plug. I'm pretty happy with this thing. Take it or leave it. It's up to you. And that is probably going to wrap up this week at the Nautilus Dry Docks. Hope you enjoyed it. It was actually a blast. We had a lot of cool things going on here. If you like what you saw, like and subscribe. It helps us out a lot here at the Dry Docks. And don't forget about SUBFEST. It's coming up, and we do have that transport service. So if you're anywhere between the West Coast and the East Coast, down that central corridor, no excuse for you not to show up. With that, we are going to let you go. You have an awesome rest of your day, and as always, catch you next time.